I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking,
regretting it.
What have I done? Like I walked into a circus.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Let's talk about Manchester United. Every day we can do a deal or no deal with Manchester United, and I understand that Manchester United are one of those clubs who, because they are who they are and they've traditionally overspent on transfers, that it's good for an agent to link a player with Manchester United, because it's very hard for them to say, no, we're not interested in him, or there was no interest, because, you know, they're not in the business of denying any of this kind of stuff, and ultimately it's a victimless crime, except for the Man United fans who get very excited about this and endlessly consume the content. Manchester United are in talks to sign France forward Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona, according to the Daily Record. According to the Mirror, sources at United have rubbished the link with Dembele. Borussia Dortmund remain adamant, according to the Independent, that England winger Jadon Sancho will not be leaving the club during this summer transfer window, despite consistent links with Manchester United. How did Manchester United become such a joke, Nathan?
Many years of taking the piss, I guess, is how you become a joke, and letting things run as long as possible, and seeming to enjoy the transfer saga. They do then try and spin this around when it comes to the big meetings with all the shareholders at the end of the year. Well, look how long we were trending. Everybody was talking about Manchester United all summer long because we managed to leave these run and run. With everything that everyone else has done, and Liverpool continuing to invest once again, that's the one thing Manchester United fans had, was that, well, like, Liverpool aren't doing anything, and we're still been linked to Jadon Sancho. And then out of nowhere last weekend, Liverpool come and spend 70 million quid, and there's talk they may spend another 30, 40 million quid. So United are in danger of being left behind. You start the season slowly, and all these clubs in Europe are going to be rubbing their hands when they watch Manchester United being beaten by Palace, because the pressure is now on. They need to sign somebody. Borussia Dortmund, you think, aren't particularly likely to crack? That they've gone this far, that they're going to hold out for that 120 million if that's the last thing they do. And at Barcelona, they've just lost Luis Suarez. They're trying to rebuild for the future. I know Ousmane Dembele's had a lot of injury problems, didn't really play at all last season, but he's still very young. He's the sort of player you would want to build for the future. So again, if they want to get him, they're going to have to spend top dollar. And they are still just looking to add to the attack, to where at the end of last season they showed they had a lot of talent. They still need a central midfielder. They still need centre backs. They still maybe need a left back as well. There's very little talk about any of that. So I think you'd be pretty worried if you're a United fan.
Without any significant investment, is there any road back to them being legitimate title contenders?
No, not this season. Not this season. They need too much to go right altogether. So they need that front three all to be on absolute fire. I don't think you could back Martial to do that. Yeah, there's definitely going to be improvement from Greenwood once again, you'd expect. And Marcus Rashford still, yes, he's on the cusp of becoming a great player, but it feels like he's been on the cusp of becoming a great player for a couple of seasons. Really poor the weekend, sort of faded out towards the end of last season as well. Like, they need him to be a player who's going to score 25 Premier League goals next season. Like Pogba again at the weekend. Like, the further back the pitch he plays, the more danger there is for Manchester United. I just don't see anywhere near enough quality in midfield, even with the signing of Van de Beek in there as well. So like, maybe Solskjaer looks at this and needs to change the system completely and go away from what he's done over the last little while. But yeah, no. They need 2 or 3 players to be title contenders.
Is Solskjaer the problem?
In terms of recruitment, well, that players don't want to sign for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
No. Much bigger than that. Is there any possibility that he could actually be the right manager to take Manchester United from the doldrums, as they are in by their own standards, to competing for Champions League victory and for Premier League victory?
Well, we'll know for sure by the end of the season, because those players I'm talking about, Greenwood, Rashford, they need to step up, and he needs to make them better players. So you can sign all the players you want. There's also players who are at the club a couple of seasons that the great managers make into far, far better players, and that hasn't really happened at Manchester United so far. So no, I don't think there's anything really to suggest that Solskjaer is the one to transform the side into a title-winning team. They're a team that gets momentum, but you feel they're always one step away from being on the verge of crisis again. Like, they are in that cycle that Liverpool were in the 90s, that every defeat is this hammer blow that suddenly there's questions starting around the manager already, and we're having this conversation, whereas 6 weeks ago were saying, geez, Solskjaer's really got to grips with this job. And that is the cycle that he is in. And he needs to get back on a winning run quite quickly. But it's the same story as a year ago. He has this job because he's a Manchester United legend, not because of his coaching credentials.
One last thing. Lingard apparently will not be joining Spurs after being linked with a move. That's according to The Athletic. Manchester United are considering taking up a one-year option to extend his current deal in order to protect his £25 million valuation. That is according to The Sun. This is madness. I think
the business side of it makes sense. Does the business side not make sense? You want to keep his valuation?
Who's going to pay £25 million for Jesse Lingard when you know you're going to have to pay him something similar to the amount of money that he's earning at Manchester United? I can't see anybody spending £25 million on Lingard over the next 18 months. No fan day, match day revenue. Refunding money to broadcasters. No one is spending £25 million. The days of the idiots in the Premier League spending, I think, are over, surely.
Well, I just mentioned James Tarkowski, who they're talking 35 million to West Ham. So West Ham may well be those idiots who go and spend that money on somebody like Jesse Lingard. I still think the 25 million transfer is on. 25 million for Jesse Lingard. England international when he's at his best. So I don't think that's extreme. But again, clubs will look at Manchester United and think, well, can we do some sort of convoluted loan deal where we can get him on the cheap? And we pay 5 million of a loan fee, and United pay half his wages or something like that. So they're in the worst buying and selling position possible. But I don't think 25 million for Jesse Lingard is outrageous considering the career he's had.
I think it is outrageous. But tell me what future he has at Manchester United. Why would they pay him another? Is it 500 grand a month times 12? That's another 6 million a year. Why would you pay him another 6 million a year to sit on your bench and never be played, and never score and never assist?
Well, the latter is obviously a problem, but, he is going to play. He played last night. There's a lot of matches coming up, and he will get game time, and you need a hefty enough squad and somebody who can come in and do a job for you, which is where Jesse Lingard will fit in. And I'm sure there's also many, many ways of balancing books that mean the 6 million is slightly separate to the 25 million you may get in as a lump sum for a Jesse Lingard. So I don't think they're just going to let him go on the cheap just to get rid of him. He doesn't seem like the type of character who's a troublemaker, is going to cause hassle. Actually, maybe he's quite a good squad member to have in there as somebody who isn't throwing his toys out of the pram and he isn't playing every week. I know you're going to say, well, you want the sort of player who is doing that. But actually, maybe Solskjaer wants, I know on a Carabao Cup night he'll play. I know he can stick him on for 20 minutes. Champions League games that we know we're going to win are done. That's right. That's his role. That is his role. It's hard to see him breaking into the first 11 unless they don't sign any of these players and suddenly there's a couple of injuries and Bruno Fernandes is out for 3 months and Jesse Lingard is your number 10.
Yeah, what a horrifying notion that would be, and what a waste of investment and opportunity giving him that money instead of actually signing somebody who might be that player in the future for you. Last one for now. Liverpool are not selling Ryan Brewster to fund a deal to sign Ismaila Sarr from Watford, so they're not doing this thing to do this other thing. Is Ryan Brewster on his way out, and is it actually the right thing for both Liverpool to sell him, cash in, and for him to play some football somewhere else?
Well, it's certainly changed over the last few weeks from, we'll send Ryan Brewster out on another loan move and he has his pick of 10 different clubs he can go to, well, this may be a permanent transfer. And I wonder, as you're going back to the change in the marketplace, are Liverpool looking at that and thinking, well, now is the time to sell? So we saw with the move for Hoiver going to Wolves, who it seemed was incredibly highly rated at Liverpool, but they can get 10, 12 million now from, there's no guarantees with these young players what they're going to be worth. So let's get the cash in while we can. And likewise with Ryan Brewster, well, maybe this summer they can get, as Liverpool do so brilliantly, 20, 25, 30 million for this young player, who still, there's no guarantees. There is no guarantees he's ever going to be good enough to start 30 games a season for Liverpool. So let's get that cash in while we can. And we know the players we want to target. So Ismaila Sarr, they are future-proofing here quite well with Diogo Jota and Ismaila Sarr as to whether Mane, Salah were to go potentially next summer.
Is Sarr that good?
He was inconsistent last season in a really poor Watford team, but obviously he did it at the right time, and that he had his best game of the season against Liverpool in the match they beat them 3-0. But he'd be a sort of direct replacement you would expect for Salah long-term, playing out on the right-hand side. I know he's played in other positions, he played in the other wing as well, so can add a bit of flexibility there. and he's still only 22. And this is the difference between Liverpool and United. You look at Sarr and think there's something there, and Jurgen Klopp will get it out of him, whatever it is. He will improve him and get him to another level. You're not seeing that, and you've no confidence really in Solskjaer being able to do that still. So I think the way Liverpool have done business previously with these young players is that they'll probably sell Brewster and try and somehow get a buyback clause in there.
In case he turns out to be sensational. All right, Nathan, good stuff. That's deal or no deal.
I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking,
Regretting it.
what have I done? Like I walked into a circus.
It's amazing, isn't it?